Welcome back to the Last Call podcast. I am your host, Arthur Gatton. My guest today has a resume that is anything but typical. He's a former USC football player and an award-winning filmmaker whose documentary work helped change the landscape of college sports by fighting for athletes' rights. Now he has set his sights on a new fight, disrupting the alcohol distribution industry. He is the founder of Blind Barrels, a subscription service dedicated to removing brand bias, which we all kind of fall guilty to, those shiny bottles that are on the shelves collecting dust that we seek are highly sought after. And he is championing the American craft distilleries that rarely get shelf space that they deserve. Please welcome to the show, Bobby DeMars. Welcome in, Bobby. How are you?
Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it. Love the show.
Love to have you, man. I appreciate you coming on. I know that we have been looking forward to this. You have a super interesting backstory, but for those listening at home, tell us about yourself and who you are and how do you even end up here doing Blind Barrels?
Yeah, sometimes we meander through life and we end up in places that we never thought we'd be. And I remember when I was in college, I had a professor that had us write a letter to ourselves in 10 years and send it to an address that we thought we'd be able to get it to. And my mom got a letter from myself when I was, 31 or 30 or whatever it was. And man, I was so wrong in that letter.
Where did you think you were going to be?
I was like, hope Summer and I are still going strong, like 5 girlfriends, prior. And, and our babies are beautiful. And that, so there was a little bit about the girlfriend there that I'm like, wow, that relationship was gone. I think probably 5 months after the letter. And then it was like, I hope I'm constructing advertising campaigns I wanted to work in marketing. I wanted to do something creative in marketing. And it's funny how marketing's wildly different now. I probably would have hated being in marketing if I would have actually gone that route. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I was born in Southern California in the San Fernando Valley, and my mom was executive assistant. My dad was an inventor. So my dad was a risk taker. He was roll the dice. Just one of these guys that he's probably one of the most prolific individual inventors of the last 30 years. He has over 200 patents. And that doesn't mean you have 200 inventions. That means that you have 200 things that you protected that you either didn't sell in time before the patents ran out. Or, I mean, look, you go protect something and then you make the patent and then it takes you years to sell it. And then it takes years to come to market. And then you only have, half of, if you're lucky, of the patent left to actually make money on it. And he actually invented the bubble gun. If you go to Disneyland, if you go to any amusement park, or when you were a kid, you screw in the bubbles, you pull the trigger, the bubbles that come out, the mechanism that would time up the soap, the airflow, and the membrane all at once. That same technology is in every single bubble toy. So he invented that, and he wasn't an engineer, a guy that sat around and like the dad from Gremlins, where he's like screwing the bathroom buddy together, or whatever it is. Yeah. He was the guy that would just put his hands together and create a membrane and think of the idea of a bubble toy and have engineers come up with it. And so we weren't wealthy growing up. I slept on the couch actually at my dad's house, which was not bad because I had the biggest house and I had the biggest TV in the house, and the fridge was right there, and it was the couch was really comfortable. He kind of really hit it when I was in college, but I was around a risk taker in the sense that I saw the stress and the turmoil and the anxiety that comes with taking risks. And that's either going to make you eventually do it, or it's going to make you never want to do it. And it's funny, my dad tried to steer me away from all the risks that I ended up taking in my life. And he's obviously on my side now, and we're kind of through that. But then my mom, on the other hand, who was, worked for corporations as an executive assistant for, big time people, always pushed me to take risks and to take chances. And so there's some irony within that in and of itself. And so, I went to USC on a football scholarship. That wasn't really planned. I didn't really even play football growing up. I just, I transferred schools in the Valley where everybody was really scary, and it was right after the riots, and there was a lot of animosity, and understandably. And then my mom lived up north, and so I went to school right in the middle, and all of a sudden I'm going against a 200-pound center named Chad, and it wasn't that scary, in the sense that this guy didn't have any animosity, and so I went into this environment where I was dominating and was all state, as a junior and got offers from everywhere. And the thought of playing at the next level wasn't really a thought, but obviously I wanted to take that financial burden off my parents. And so I created a matrix, looked at all the schools I was looking at and created a magnitude for the things that I cared about and literally created an algorithm. And so I had Harvard and Stanford as options too. And I went to USC specifically because I could study business as an undergrad. Most people think it was because it was a better football school, but it was really because I couldn't study business as an undergrad at Harvard and Stanford. And then I wanted to be in the film school there. And then I got there and they said, you can't be in the film school. And I was like, why? And they're like, because all the core classes are on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 2 to 6. And you have meetings and practice in that exact window in both semesters. So I applied to the film school without telling them. And I convinced the dean to let me do Cinema 101 last, which doesn't make any sense, but they let me do it. So I was the first player to get in the film school there, which was really cool. And then, came out of college, was really disillusioned. I did a lot of internships with, I did one with Xerox and I did one with big ad firm. And I really got disillusioned with corporate. The first of all, I hate wearing ties. I hate wearing suits. I look great in a suit, but I just hate, I feel buttoned up. I feel confined. And I felt like every time it was like I'm at a new school. You go to a new school and you don't know anybody and you don't know the rules of the game, or, like the first time in junior high, you got to go to classes. I'm like, I don't know the rhythm of this environment. And I just felt like it wasn't natural or innate to me. And then I also just discovered that best ideas don't win and everything's cutthroat and everybody's, especially in a creative environment, everybody's not on your side. Everybody's rooting against you. And so I didn't want to go the corporate route. And so I tried to make films independently and become an independent producer and a writer. And then to make a living while I was doing that, I started doing test prep and teaching kids, SAT, ACT. And then I discovered methods that were better than what that program taught me. And I eventually started a company that, mentored and tutored, foster kids, 200 foster kids throughout the county. And what that did was, if you're going to start a service industry, you can't just hire a bunch of people and then hope you get the work, or get a bunch of work and then hire the people. There's kind of this weird pass off. So having this account where I could mentor and tutor 200 foster kids allowed me to hire 70 people. And then when other work came in, I then could obviously charge a lot of money for that. But I actually fell in love with it. I love the idea of not just being, the moniker of a tutor is like, oh, you're helping kids with their homework, but I'm an educator, I'm a mentor, I'm a motivator. I get to play a pivotal role in the catalyst of this kid's life. And so, got really into mindfulness, started a company that was related to that, and did make some films. We did a feature called Talk to Me with Universal with Don Cheadle and Martin Sheen, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Taraji Henson. Oh, wow. It was kind of the first Black art house film that crossed demographics.
Okay.
So like in the film industry back in the early 2000s, like a lot of the African-American audience films were Tyler Perry films, right? And then if they made like a Hotel Rwanda with Don Cheadle, it was mainly white people going to see that. Mm-hmm. And the film that I think gets the credit for crossing over is Precious. Precious was a really dynamic, engaging film, and it was such a great film that it didn't matter. It wasn't, it started dispelling the myth of like black art house films. We don't have black art house films anymore. We just have good films. You know what I mean? And a lot of them happen to be African-American films. But back then, that's not how distribution works. They need to see what the paradigm of the film that came before it was. So they were like, we need to sell this to white people because it's testing really well. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, which was a mistake. Got some Golden Globe nominations, and I mean, people were getting on buses and traveling 2 hours to go see this movie.
Wait, you got some Golden Globe nominations for that?
I didn't personally. I actually got my credit taken away from me a week before production started. So
that's another story, isn't it?
It's another lesson, yeah. But
it's a 2-hour drive.
Better lawyers, better lawyers. But I helped rewrite the film that helped get the green light. I actually saved the money and the life rights. I did all these things to actually produce the film, and I forewent a writing credit for the sake of the producing credit, and then the guy that wrote the check limited everybody's credits, and so So played a big role in that. Made the documentary about the real guy that was about Petey Green in Washington D.C., who was the original shock radio that DJ that talked himself out of prison and onto the radio, amidst the civil rights movement. So made a documentary about him that was on PBS and won some awards for that. Don Cheadle narrated that, which is really cool. And getting a film made is really difficult. You're in the trenches, and people don't understand, like, you can go make an independent film, but if you don't get distribution, you just make a really expensive home film.
Yeah.
And then my partners in the company we had different kind of aspirations. Not just, we wanted to do the same things, but we were motivated by different things. So
what was your motivation?
I just like telling stories, and I love the concept of legacy. Like, legacies are, you can have kids, right? It's a form of, you get your little mini avatar running around, and you're teaching lessons, and they're an extension of you, and they're really kind of how you continue to live after you're gone. Mm-hmm. And then you can create a company, or you can create a film, you can create a work of art, you can create something that stands the test of time. So I've always been motivated by that, and I think it's in all of our DNA to a certain degree. And some of it's just procreate, right? Some of us, have great ideas, but we never take the risk. Some of them have bad ideas, but we're risk takers, and they're successful just by taking the risk, right?
Sharknado.
Sharknado, come on. With Ian Ziering, come on, Sharknado 5. I'm in. Let's do it. The Sharknado work, whatever the subtitle is going to be. So I was disillusioned with my partners, and they were into, like, look at me, or let's use this to get laid. Like, it was a different dynamic, and eventually that sours when you're not in alignment with people that you're trying to synergize with. And so I said, I'm going to go off and I'm going to make something I care about, which was about college athletes' rights. And that's where the Business of Amateurs came from. So really independent.
Business of Amateurs.
So it was, I did a Kickstarter.
Yeah.
And, Kickstarters are not fun, by the way, because when you raise money publicly, and you ask everybody to put money into it, and there's a really interesting kind of human psychology that happens. And I know this because I've done this before, and it's very human. It doesn't mean we're bad people, but when someone's taking a risk and you're not, you're kind of quietly rooting for them, because if they succeed, then that affirms that maybe you should have taken more risks. And if they don't succeed, it's an affirmation that you did the right thing by playing it safe. And so I'm like, I've got 1,000 friends on Facebook. If everybody puts in $20, we're going to make it, because if you don't reach your minimum, you don't get the money on Kickstarter. And I got like $3,000 in the first 5 days. I utilized my birthday and I did this announcement, and then I got $20 in the next 10 days. And I was like, oh my God, we're not going to make it. And now, like, there's the pit in the stomach, and it's public failure is not ever fun, no matter what you're doing. And the quarterback at the time at USC that was just getting ready to get drafted was a guy named Matt Barkley. And a buddy of mine knew him and got him to tweet about the Kickstarter and just say, and he was smart about it. He said, do you think college athletes deserve more rights? This documentary does. He didn't say what he thinks. He just said, do you think this? That was a pretty intelligent way to actually posit it. And the next day, the AP picked up on it, and there were 50 articles about Matt Barkley thinks players should be paid. And then that rolled in another 15,000, and then, pulled in and then the thing is, when you're close to the goal, now people step up, because now they want to be a part of the thing that's going to happen. And so we shot 77 days in 23 cities with, $26,000.
That's so outstanding.
Yeah, you were mentioning when we got on this call about Pelican case. Man, I can tell you, American Airlines, my Pelican case is rolling out of that thing, opened up with wires sticking out, and
oh God,
yeah, like the worst. I'm like, it's a Pelican case. It's literally like not going to open up by itself. It's the dumbest thing ever. But we went out and shot, and I was going to make a film that was about the hypocrisy involved in the money. And the reality is that was really controversial at the time. Players making money just from their name, image, and likeness was really controversial when we were making it. But after shooting for a while, I figured the film was really about rights. So we made it about academic integrity. A lot of these guys are forced into easy majors, and it's really about eligibility. It's not about education. And then CTE, chronic traumatic encephalopathy. These guys are trading their long-term mental health for the sake of these ephemeral moments of glory. And so I made 3 films that I had to make into one film, with the thread being really college athletes' rights. And impossible to make. And right before my daughter was born, we got E&O insurance from a company that I don't think they watched the film, because they probably wouldn't have insured the film because it was really risky. E&O insurance is errors and omissions. So like you can't get distribution unless you have insurance for all the risks that can come with filmmaking. Like
I didn't know that you would need insurance to distribute a film.
Oh yeah, you got to have insurance. So like basically, because I made a couple schools and some coaches look bad. I mean, I used 270 items in the film that I didn't have the rights to, that I got cleared for fair use by the top lawyer in the game for $500 that should have cost me like 60,000. There was a lot of just angels on my shoulder for sure. And there's like 7 companies that'll give you E&O insurance, and 3 of them said no. It's extremely risky. Like we're not even going to offer like insurance, which is already, I'm like, that's a red flag. And the broker was like, this isn't good. And then 3 said, we'll let you insure it for $30,000 with the exclusion of if a school or a coach sues you. And I'm like, well, what the hell are we insuring? And so the distributor won't take that. Here. Right. And then 1 came in right on budget. It was $2,800, exactly what we had in the budget. With no exclusions. And I was like, do you think they didn't watch the movie? She's like, I don't think they watched the movie. And I'm like, she's like, sign the check. And I wrote it, got it out there. And we were the #1 documentary on iTunes for like 2 or 3 months, and made some waves and really utilized that film to change college athletes' rights. So I'm on the oversight committee for the nonprofit that created the NIL laws. So 5 minutes of the film played for the state Senate hearings and then eventually for the Supreme Court. And it was probably the last thing I thought would happen. I thought the money thing would come last. I thought academic integrity and, protecting people from long-term mental health issues was going to be the obvious ones that we're still fighting for, funny enough. But yeah, NIL passed, and now college athletes can make money from their name, image, and likeness. And, really proud of that film. You set out to make a film like that to change the system, and we didn't change the system. We were just a component of many factors that changed the system. So super proud of that.
You should be. That's a fantastic. You have the wildest backstory. Well, pretty wild backstory, but yeah, that is a monumental achievement, and 100%. Yeah, even though now thinking about really wild that these people want to get paid for their likeness on merch, video games, media, all that. Their name. I'm selling tickets for your games. People aren't coming here to the stadium they're rooting for me specifically, not for just a number on the back of a jersey. Like, oh yeah, like Heisman Trophy winners. I am arguably the most recognized collegiate football player for the year, at least probably 2 years, 3 years. And who is coming to watch your games? Hell, Frank Mendoza.
Oh yeah. Well, some of them, that's the only value that they have in their life.
Yeah.
Like they never, you can go to Brian Bosworth, even Bo Jackson. He didn't really have a long career because of the injuries that knee injury he never really recovered from. And so for some people, there's plenty of tournament MVPs that never really played in the NBA, and their greatest value was at a time where they couldn't trade on it. And the guy that was really behind the scenes, and he's such a quiet, humble person, is a guy named Ramogi Huma from UCLA. So it was interesting that this rival was this guy that was coming up with these solutions. And but he saw his teammate, they were selling his jersey like crazy, and he couldn't believe that he couldn't make money when they're selling hundreds of thousands of dollars of his jersey every year. And that was really what sparked his inclination in figuring out, what are the things are we not fighting for? Because they want to tell you that you're lucky to get a scholarship. You're lucky to even be at this institution. And people at the time were always saying like, well, I got student debt and this guy should have, and he's got his education for it. He should. And I said, what you don't understand is that guy's worth well more than you. You know what I mean? Like you put a dog on a billboard, the dog gets paid, there's kids that get paid in the film industry. There's nothing that but we've created this idea that there's somehow this purity within college athletics, when the reality is amateurism in itself started out as a separation of class. That, when Pierre Coubertin, whatever, started the Olympics in 1896, and he started on this amateurism model. That's not what it was in the ancient Olympics. The ancient Olympics, if you won a race, like you didn't have to pay for a ouzo the rest of your life. It was built upon what happened in the bourgeoisie. Essentially, wanted to keep the people that had to work 6-7 days a week under their thumb. So they didn't want them to best them in their leisure, because then if they got paid for their sport, then they could beat them, and they wanted to keep them below them. So amateurism was started out as a separation of class, and then it ultimately became that. And coaches used to be amateurs, and then TV, film rights changed. I mean, TV rights and tickets, all that changed everything. The coaches used to be professors, and all of a sudden they were well paid. We didn't have a problem with that. But I almost made a second film. It was going to be called The Last Plantation, just because there's elements of just race that are deeply laced in all of these things and why they went on for so long.
Yeah.
It was just, I'm a white, do I want to be the white filmmaker that makes that? Because it's not my story. Do you know what I mean? So I came to grips with it. It's funny because, you know, I went out and I made that film and it did really well. And I didn't make a bunch of money from it because I donated a lot of it to causes. And a friend of mine that passed away while we were making the film related to his story and helping his kid go to college and things like that. So I can sleep at night, you know. But, you know, you think, oh, I did that without having any relationships, but I should be able to go make a second one. And I couldn't raise the money for it. So never got it made. It would actually timed up really great if we did get it made. And then, you know, COVID happened and everything died. Like all the film projects died. My test prep company, it didn't die. It was just, there weren't any testing happening. And, you know, I painted some accent walls. I put in some bidets and, you know, and my buddy was doing blind tastings. Yeah, exactly. And my buddy was doing blind tastings during COVID. And I had done it with wine before. I'd never done it with whiskey. And I'm like, what? I'm like, this is amazing. I've never realized how nuanced whiskey could be.
So were you a whiskey drinker before all this? Or is it drinker versus were you someone who was enjoying the nuances before? Were you into it as deeply prior to COVID where kind of the world was forced to slow down? Or was this
I was a drinker more than a taster. And the guy that introduced me to was a financial advisor at a big financial firm that my wife actually works at. And when I would be at company functions and he would I would see him order a really good tequila. So I knew a little bit more about tequila at the time. It's funny, I know less about tequila now than I do about whiskey. And, you know, he'd order some really killer pours and people come up and just, you know, the shot and take the lime. And I'm just like sipping it. And I just remember looking at his face where he looked at me like, yeah. And I was like, I appreciate you. Like, this is the dope pour. I'm going to enjoy it. Right. And so when he set up some blinds during COVID to connect us while we were all disconnected and isolated, and I called him, I think after the second one, and he was setting up 8, and he was giving us like, you know, 30 milliliter pours, like 830 milliliter pours that were all like from things that whatever he paid for. So he could have an old Fitz from like 1994 or something that he didn't pay that much money for. And he was only charging us the money that he paid for it versus what it was worth now. So we're getting these killer banger lineups for like next to nothing because he's just a really Christian. He's a co-founder of the company. I went and started the company and founded it. And then after a year, I'm like, I'm going to make you co-founder just because, you impregnated me with your baby and now you got to take care of your baby. And I told him, I'm like, this is a business. He went, yeah, okay. And I was like, I'm going to figure this out. Like, nobody's ever done this before. And I quickly figured out why the alcohol industry, especially spirits and beer, are heavily regulated. There's all sorts of limitations. I was dealing with one of these hurdles literally today for half the day of just a new hurdle that came out of nowhere. And it's really not easy to get other people's liquid and whiskey, anything into our bottle. Yeah. And then, the 3-tier system that came after Prohibition, where the people that make it have to give it to distributors that then have to give it to a retailer before a consumer can have it. So it's very restrictive. And there's some good distributors out there, but the mafia ran the alcohol game during Prohibition. I would say the mafia didn't get out of it; they went into distribution, and they control who gets the shelf space and who gets on premise and all of this. And so, Christian, the guy that introduced me to all this, he said, "Look, if we're going to do this, we should feature craft." And I was like, "Okay," and I was like, "Cool, let's do it." I didn't even think about it, right?
Yeah,
but it was brilliant because in the end, putting Maker's Mark and Bullet and Jack Daniels, there's nothing special about that. And we have other, competitors in the subscription alcohol space that I won't mention because, I'm not into bad juju for that. Yeah. But
I won't say the name, but I did try one of those before.
Yeah.
the subscription-based ones. And what I did find, even though there was some brands that, hey, I didn't have to commit to a full bottle to see if I like this or not. I could, make this was not as good as I thought it was going to be. And I did.
There's one out there that's a single blind. So like we're a double blind, meaning you don't know anything at any point. A single blind is I know what these samples are. I don't know the order of them, right?
Yes.
And for me, I'm like, I don't really care. But also all of those pours were stuff that I could get in any, Benny's, Total Wine, Bevmo, Liquor Mart, whatever your big liquor store is in your state.
100%. And that's kind of why I didn't love it. I'm like, I could just turn around and try the same shot at a bar and decide then if I liked it or not. I'm like, I'm not really getting anything unique out of this. It was just like, oh, okay, this is cool for like 3 months. And then it just, meh.
What we also didn't like was if you did want to buy a bottle of something, to me, it was very much built for I'm not going to say stupid, but uninformed consumers where like, okay, they're selling you a bottle that's 15% markup on what you can go get at the liquor store.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you're just doing this because you have the cash to spend and for whatever reason that is, or you just didn't decide to look it up and realize you can just go get it down the street for $20 less. That we were going to sell things, full bottles, for less than if you were at the distillery yourself. So most people come for the blinds, but they stay for the access. And also we're starting a thing called Bobby Stash right now. Like I got over in my corner, I got a bunch of Midwinter Night's Dram. Like that's normally like $180, $200. We're going to sell for like $130 for members, some Burr Rye just came in from High West too. We're ideally, like the only way that you could, if you find anything that's in our shop, I dare you to, first of all, say, hey, could you buy it? Number one, like our last lineup, we had, 2 of them you could only get if you were at the distillery. It's not even in liquor stores within that state. There was a store picks, things you can only get there that they let our members get access to. But even if you were there, you would actually pay, the same price or usually more than what we offer for. So that's, most people don't realize the members that aren't taking advantage of the bottle sales. So we don't lose money when we sell bottles, but we don't really make a lot of money. And we indirectly make money because members stay loyal to us and they stay with us.
Yeah. I want to circle back because you said you're a double blind. So people don't know with the subscription-based box what they get. Let's start over. The subscriptions-based box for blind barrels. What comes in that box? How many flavor? How many samples? How often does it come? Like, tell us about that.
So it's a quarterly kit. So you can pay for a quarter, you can pay for an annual. The annual prepays for 4 quarters. We throw in a 5th bonus box. You get 4 tasting glasses. So we'd really kind of try to push you towards the annual and commit to it. You can get a one-off and not commit to a subscription too. That's an option. Mm-hmm. And there's 4 samples in there. They're 50 mLs. It looks like 100 just because we use really thick dope glass. We made custom glass. We spent a whole year just making custom packaging, building the website, getting custom glass, getting all the permits and licenses and all the stuff that we had to do, the relationships that we had to form to really maneuver amongst the 3 tiers. We were really patient with launching the company, so we didn't just hurry up and screw it up. And then these 4 samples are A, B, C, D. And then there is a taste. So it's a really nice high-end soft touch gold leaf. There's a magnet with a ribbon pole on it. It's everything about it's as high-end as possible. I've never made custom packaging, so that was an interesting thing to kind of learn. And just figure out what, we could have gone the corrugated box route or we could have gone this other route. And I have friends in the industry that are like, okay, we can hook you up for like $15 a box. I'm like, we can't charge people $500 to do this. In order to not lose money. And I just kept calling. I called every vendor in the country until we could get our boxes for an affordable price, but still have premium. I mean, the boxes themselves, you don't want to throw away, and you shouldn't, because what you should do is use your bottles and you make blinds for friends, right? So you can, reuse it. Some people, we had a contest for like, hey, what are you going to do with the box? And somebody made a Zen garden out of it. And somebody, made they put all the stuff that they need for their car, like jumper cables and all this other stuff in it. And so people got really creative. This other guy did this whole wood thing out of it. He won. That was just unbelievable. He built in this tasting things where you can put your 4 tasting glasses, a thing that holds the card, places to put, like, fit the bottom of the bottles, he made enough for all of us, and it's sitting over there and it's beautiful.
All right. Well, shoot. All right. So every
There's a
quarter.
tasting table. So the tasting table, if you've seen the wheel, the whiskey wheel, where you're constantly turning it, we converted the wheel into a table. We reinvented the wheel, and on there is a QR code. And the QR code doesn't just tell you what everything is and let you buy a bottle, but you can guess the age, the proof, and the type of whiskey,
Okay.
and you'll actually get a score that tells you how accurate your palate is.
Oh, okay.
So it's gamified,
That's
and so yeah. Yeah, building an app is not fun, is what I figured out. But and it's not an app you have to download. Everything's kind of like it's on the site. It's an app that we built on the site. And you can skip the game. You don't have to do it if you want. If you're getting above a 40, so you don't have to get the age and the proof on the nose, but if you get close to it, you still get points.
Yeah.
Now
is that measured against like every person who's tried this box, or who's the database?
We've thought about that. It's just like, for instance, you could do Wordle on your computer and then just tell everybody you did it in 2 guesses on your phone. Like you can cheat at it. So we didn't want to make it prize based because somebody could very easily game it. Like if you're getting above 40%, that's pretty solid. Every now and again, somebody will get 70%, but we give categories for the types. So like in the box, I'm going to send you, there's a millet grain, which is wild. Like, I mean, who's making millet? There's a Kansas City style, which means they actually throw 2% of into it is sherry. It's not finished in a sherry cask. They throw actual sherry into it. There's one that has a corn varietal that almost went extinct in the last 2 years of corn. They built back up and eventually made, and they're the only ones that have this very specific type of corn. And then there's a cask strength rye 6-year that bourbon lovers love. I hate when people go like, "Oh, I want a bourbon," and I always pour them a rye without them knowing. And they're like, "This is an amazing bourbon." I'll give them like Middle West pumpernickel rye. They're like, "This is really good. This is an amazing bourbon." I'm like, "It's a rye. So stop saying that you like bourbon. You like whiskey, and this is just one of the really cool things that you can have."
Yeah, I'm a rye guy. It's all up there.
Ryes are bomb. I mean, ryes are like, oh yeah, I can even tell everything's blurred out, so I can see on the. Let me just guess by the blur. On the far right is a Penelope. It might be a barrel proof Penelope, and the far left that is Smoke Wagon. That is a private select Smoke Wagon. That little purple on that left one on the far left.
No,
that's not Smoke Wagon. That one on that upper shelf on the far left. Up
that
there.
is
everything that focus.
That's the rare character single barrel select for Orlando Whiskey Society. On the right is Thomas H. Handy Sazerac Rye.
Okay. I love Thomas H. Handy.
Yeah, then I have
everything's blurred out, but it does look like blurred out. It looks like a Penelope bottle.
I do have one in a corner somewhere. Actually.
If you've ever had Smoke Wagon, they're private select. There's a purple thing. It's phenomenal.
Oh, I have it. I have it, and it was hard to find because originally in Florida it wasn't distributed. So I had friends that were traveling from New York, driving down. They stopped at a store, like, "Oh, we found this. Do you want this?" I was like, "Yes, I do."
It's like, yes, please.
And when I was in
Colorado, I send everybody with like when we travel somewhere, I pack very light. It's basically like underwear and a couple of shirts, and then
like you do what I do.
Yeah, you come back with 15 bottles. Yeah. You're supposed to have 2, but TSA doesn't care. You're fine as long as nothing leaks. You're good.
They're not paying enough attention to me. They're looking at what my 3-ounce bottles have.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like when you're talking about these brands and everything, I know that we already talked about your filmmaking career, your story writing, your writing in general. How do you translate that into the skill set where you're describing the story behind each bottle? I don't know. I assume that you're the same as me. Part of the reason why I enjoy some of these spirits is that history, the story, the kind of just the legacy that comes around it. We talked about legacy earlier. How do you translate that into telling these stories in kind of palatable still and not taking away from that experience for those people that are purchasing these subscriptions?
So, I mean, I'd say the filmmaking stuff comes in a lot where I'm shooting a lot of spots or, so I can edit and I can shoot. I can do a lot of different things that maybe other companies can't do, which is great. But the storytelling of the brands, I actually lean on my chief tasting officer, which is Christopher Sebastian. And he's like 32 going on 70. He's an old soul. He can tell you like how the esters affect. He's such a likable human. Mm-hmm. And he's a good Catholic boy. He's already got 5 kids. You know what I mean? But I mean, like, it's funny. Like
children.
he's one of these guys that I always tell people, I'm like, Seabass might convert you into Christianity just because he's such a good human. He's never going to try to convert you because, I mean, Catholics don't really do that.
Yeah.
But he's just a good dude. He's just such a good human and a good person. But he is, we call him the professor. He knows so much, and he's not going to use AI to write anything. Anything that's on our site is handwritten, and all the tasting notes and all the things that you're going to experience when you do the kit. The love and the care that he shows is at another level than what I have the time for. And I don't have the time to do it as much as I would love to do it. And I do write things all the time. And I mean, I'll write songs that I then throw into Suno, and then I put that into it. So I'll have some fun creativity doing that. Yeah. We did that today. We had all the guys that were packing, and I just like made an 80s, like theme song as if we're doing a TV show and introducing everybody. And so it's not going to sell any bottles or whatever, but I think it's fun to be able to do stuff like that,
Yeah. I mean, it's still, I think that's part of the enjoyment of it. And having a partner that does that aspect of it is perfect. And like more people that are helping you build this vision and work towards this company and make it successful. Because
you got to delegate it. And I'd say the hard thing, if you start a company and you're lucky enough to, do anything and because you're running a podcast, right? And the thing is that you're never going to get somebody to care about whatever you're doing as much as you.
Yes.
But you can get somebody that's close to that, like really close to that. Jeremy, my director of operations, Davis, my guy that sets us up. I mean, one of the things that's great about having a bunch of really smart students that you send to all these great schools is I would cherry pick the best ones and turn them into my assistants and then eventually marketing coordinators and, build them into roles. And my boy Davis gets us into Forbes faster than any publicist that you're going to pay 10 grand to.
Davis contacted me, Davis?
I mean, Davis is, I'm telling you, Davis,
I believe you.
Davis is a college student at USC.
Oh, no, I'm just making sure. I was like, because I have his information if I need to reach out.
He is a brilliant young man and a go-getter. And that's the thing. It's like, if I'm going to bring on somebody, I'm like, Davis, you're never going to get coffee. You're never going to do any assistant level stuff. You are going to get your hands dirty and have a lot of experience. And anything that you want to do, you can do. Anything you don't want to do, you don't have to do. And I hope you take on all the challenges I throw at you and don't expect to, defeat all these challenges and obstacles that come your way. It's going to be hard, and it should be. And, but the team that we have, so Christian, is co-founder, Sebass, we call him Christopher Sebastian. He's our chief tasting officer. Sebass. And so they'll do the tasting, we'll film it. They're both great on camera. I'm good on the mic and the camera too, but I want them to kind of do their own thing. I want to give them autonomy in how they're doing it. But like right now, Sebass is going to get me all the tasting notes for March. We've already shot the video. So this is a partnership. The March one is a partnership with Fred Minnick, who's like, one of the top authors, critics in the game, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a badass interview. Oh, well, that's a badass experience.
Yeah, well, we've had, so we did a kit with Fred, but it was a separate kit. And then this time I said, can we just sync up on a lineup so I don't have to make two lineups because it's a lot of work to actually do all the stuff that we have to do. And he said, cool. So, Fred shot a little intro video, and he just has a bestseller on the USA list right now for Bottom Shelf, a book he just wrote, which is really great. He's very candid, just about how this bottom shelf whiskey that he found Old Crow kind of ended up saving his life, literally, from being a veteran in the Iraq War. And he was, I think he was a photographer, but he still ended up in some really harrowing, horrible situations that gave him PTSD and took him to some dark places and made him suicidal. And luckily, he didn't end his life, and he turn this idea of connecting to your senses and your palate. I mean, the thing about tasting is great whiskey, in my opinion, is when I come home on a Friday and I go outside and I'll have the same pour for an hour, and I'll just, you can get inebriate. You can do whatever you want. You can choose your own adventure with whiskey, right? But for me, it's about connecting to the senses and reminding me to be present with my kids and in these precious moments that I have with them. And connecting with people that when you're having a pour and I don't have any bottles that aren't open at my house, like that are just collecting dust, everything. Like I can see your Thomas H. Handy. Yeah, that's about a third empty. Like you're pouring that, and that's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Like if you've got a unicorn, you got something. Now don't pour it for somebody that's going to put it on crushed ice and not care about it, right?
Take
You
a
put it on
shot.
ice, I don't care. Yeah, yeah, or yeah, taking a shot, or like, oh, this tastes like Jack Daniels. I'm like, it's not. It's like, why did I pour that for you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Share it for somebody that's going to appreciate it, right?
Yeah.
And make a moment, and a memory, a laugh. That's all we have is these communal moments, right? So,
Definitely. Yeah.
but
And I agree with that. I think that a lot of my favorite stories and experiences with my friends happen to be around a bottle or good food. So
yep,
I always think that it's one of my favorite things to do. Like during COVID, I know that we talked about it briefly. Part of the reason why I even got into the podcasting and doing what I'm doing was because I would have people that I trusted and, hey, like that we could feel comfortable around each other. Instead of going to bars, we chilled here. I'd buy a new bottle or come up with a cocktail and we'd sit around and tell stories. And I was like, wait a minute, there's something here.
No, this is 100%. This is what it's all about, right? We're here to connect with each other, and look, you don't have to get drunk or wasted or to have a good time. And some people, I think, lean on alcohol being this conduit to these good times. You can do, and if somebody has an unhealthy relationship with alcohol and they're a member, like, and they leave for that, either for health reasons or, like we've had somebody on the live once where he was just one time, he was just kind of the what we don't want people to do, which is to kind of make an ass out of yourself. And I call him like, dude, I think maybe you should step away. That this is, at the end of the day, like we want this to be a healthy thing.
Yeah.
Alcohol is an unhealthy aspect in a lot of people's life, but it can be a healthy one too. And I think Fred Minnick is a great example of that. But yeah, we're the only brand he's ever partnered up with, which is great. So things from his top 100 lineup are in this lineup. There's a unique blend in there that there's only 150 bottles of it. That's phenomenal, like off the charts good. And people are gonna be mad at me because we're gonna run out of it. I'm gonna limit it to one per person, and I have to like pay an app, like just to create that limitation on our site, and what'll happen is someone will wait till the middle of April or the late April and they'll do it. And they're like, how come I can't buy this bottle? And they'll get mad at me. And I'm like, and I'll send all these emails and I'm like, don't wait to do the lineup. This is like, and most of the people that know that have been with us for a while know that when I say that, I'm not joking. Like this is a killer offering and price and everything. And this is a bottle that you're going to want to drink with your kids one day.
Yeah. Actually, I'm kind of curious. I'll wait till after the show. So we talked a little bit about these removing the brand, removing the bias, but also that your partner, Sebass, was saying like, hey, let's not market the big brands like Makers and Blanton's and Buffalo Trace. Do you think that because that label, and it's true, I have opinions about this, and people who've listened to previous shows know how I feel about price and branding versus actual value. Do you feel that when you remove that bias and remove those labels, did you start seeing things go a different way than normal? Like, were you seeing people lean towards the Underdog distilleries or lean towards like these? Oh my God, has to be what was that like?
It's interesting because, and first of all, it was Christian that did that. I know if my guys ever listen to that, they'll be like, Sebass didn't do that. That was Christian.
Apologize, Christian.
It's interesting. The smaller brands. So our members are a really interesting mix. We have a lot of couples that do this together, which I think is awesome. Like we do lives, a lot of couples show up, a lot of friends. There's a group of sisters. There's a mother-daughter group. There's like, people think women don't drink. I'm like 30% of our members are women. Women love whiskey as well.
The whole section of whiskey and tequila, that's hers.
Well, but I always say we're not a whiskey company. We're an experience company. Mm-hmm. We're providing an experience, and that experience isn't just that we're giving a blind, but we're giving you stuff that you wouldn't be able to normally try any other way. So when you have a Millet grain, I mean, you've probably never had a Millet grain in your life, but you get to have a Millet grain, and that bottle is actually an allocated bottle that won bottle design of the year. It's not a bottle that you can readily buy. And if you did, you'll pay $30 more. So there's people that are really into discovery. And so a lot of people in our club our membership are early in their whiskey journey. And then there's some that are the ones that are chasing the blends and the Wellers are the hardest people to get to join, because they're going to start doing the math and they're going to say, oh, I'm paying $8 a pour. They'll start doing the math on the whiskey, and I'm like, well, you just paid 22 for a bottle of Weller SR, a pour of Weller SR at the bar. Like, it's perception, right? And perception trumps reality. So if you think something's awesome, and you can make poor man's Pappy with 60% blend of Weller Antique and Weller 12, right? A 60-40 blend, and you can put that in a Pappy bottle, and if you pour that, people will love that you shared some Pappy with them. Okay. And it's going to taste really damn close to Pappy too. It's like really, really close. And you can do that. So for those people that are out there chasing bourbon, the ones that join us get it, because then they realize that we're offering really cool stuff and special prices. And so they get it, but getting them to do what we're doing is probably one of the harder things. And then what we've learned, and what I thought would be true that was true, was if you get somebody to discover something on their own terms, right? Let their taste buds tell them what they think. They're not just more likely to become a fan of that brand. They're likely to become a lifelong fan of that brand.
Yeah.
And visit the distillery, or
a
join a
point
club and start picking bottles, barrels. You know what I mean?
There have been a couple of brands, I won't get too deep into it, that I've ended up discovering because of either the subscription or a friend sharing it during a bottle share, or just, hey man, you got to try this. This is wild. Or I have a local bar called The Courtesy that we frequented, and they would have random new bottles, or like, what is that? What is that? Or they put something in an old fashioned. I'm like, this is different. Could I just buy a deep pour? I'm curious what this is. And that put me onto brands that I'm like, now I seek. Now when I see it on the shelf, I was like, people don't know. I don't take this. Like, people are not giving this the credit that it deserves. So yeah, definitely.
Something that surprised you. What's like a bottle that a friend brought over that really surprised you that you became a fan of?
So, all right. So I'm a grab it. It's a Taconic. Ever heard of Taconic? Oh, is that there? Is that what this is? That I thought that
Taconic right there. Yeah.
That is hilarious. Hold on.
I love the Duchess. Like, we didn't get the Duchess in the lineup, but we got their cast strength rye in the lineup.
Right. I got a listener of the show reached out, and he's like, hey, I'm going to send you some Burlington wine and spirits single barrel straight New York rye whiskey from Taconic. He sent me like these little random samples, but so is
that a cast strength rye?
This is 137 proof. Yeah.
Oh, damn. Yeah. So this is their cast strength rye that was in our lineup. I think ours was 115 proof. Sounds like that was more of a barrel pick of what they did.
Yeah, it looks like
and they're in upstate New York, and we wanted them in our first lineup, and we couldn't get them because the guy that we talked to he didn't understand the math of the bulk versus he's trying to sell us this bulk spirits at wholesale, when the reality is it has to run through all the three tiers again. Yeah. And so there's a math that we arrive at. We don't get the whiskey for free. Nobody can buy their way into the lineup. The math that we've used forever still works. But like, we wanted Taconic, and then they didn't end up not being in the first lineup. And then a few years later, I have my guy do a whiskey wish list video every now and again on Instagram, and he did it. And the owner reached out. He's like, well, how do we get in the lineup? I'm like, we wanted you in the first lineup, which is, now it's better that years later we have more members. And we started, we only had 200 members, and now we've got over 5,000. And so, now that we have more people to introduce your brand to, and to, get the in the industry, it's called the liquor on the lips, right? That's the hardest thing to do, is to actually get them to try something. And so we get to do that for the brand.
Yeah. I did not know about this brand at all. So that listener sent me these, and I have like 4 more bottles. I've tried them throughout the time. I'm just randomly trying them out to see what it's like. I've never
different brands in that. In those samples,
it's all Taconic with different samples, same brand, different samples.
Yeah, everything they make is great. The Duchess is something that I don't think there was enough quantity of it for us to get it in the lineup, but that's kind of their high end bourbon that they do.
So let me see. So here I have the Mizunara cask finished bourbon, 107 proof.
Yeah, they sent us that, and that was just too expensive for us because that's a pricey bottle. And I'm always trying to think about that for members.
I'll look at it later. Bottled in bond bourbon, just 4 years old, 100 proof. The double barrel maple bourbon, 115 lost barrel.
Yeah, that's really good.
Rumored 9 years. So I was getting these. I'm like trying them as I go. I started with 10. And I'm down to 5 of these samples, but they're not available in Florida. Well, at least not in Orlando. Like I couldn't find them anywhere. So I was like, I guess I'm gonna have to order stuff online. But I'm trying to get through all 10. And then when I finish, I'm like, I'm gonna pick a bottle or two. But I ended up falling in love with the brand. I was gonna reach out to them to come bring them on the show eventually once I've gone through it all. But
we love that brand. They're phenomenal.
Yeah, I was surprised.
It's the best thing. You know, we get to put our arms around these small businesses, right?
Yeah, and that was one of those brands that surprised me. And one of the bigger brands that I would have tried, other if it wasn't for like just sampling stuff, is our in-house bottle and bond rye, or the because from the appearance it looks like just a plain bottle, inexpensive. I was like, whatever. And I was younger in the game, so I was like, I didn't really give credit to what it was due. That was due. And when I tried it, I fell in love with it. It's on my shelf at all times for old fashions, Manhattans, everything. It's an easy cocktail, perfect rye for a lot of my pours.
Oh, yeah.
And I would never have tried it if it wasn't something that was just like, here's a little sample of it. So,
have you had Middle West before?
Midwest?
Middle West?
No.
What part of Florida are you in?
Orlando.
Okay. Yeah, we haven't had an Orlando brand, but we've talked to St. Augustine. We had one in Tampa called Dark Door.
Okay. There's also a / distillery. Tim Bradstreet and Mike Buffa, really good friends of the show, super supportive. Love those guys. They make now it's called Bad Santa. It used to be called Crevice, but because of stuff, they had to call it Bad Santa.
Yeah, somebody trademarked.
That rye's finished in a local brand from Lugo Craft Distillery. It's a rum brand. They make a bourbon, or they make a rum for people who hate rum, so it tastes like whiskey. So it's a spiced rum barrels that they use. It is one of the best ryes I've ever had. I might freaking just do a swap and send you a sample if you want at some point. We'll talk after the show.
Send you a swap, yeah. Definitely.
It's one of my favorites, so you can get to try them out. But Tim and Mike, they're blenders, so they make fantastic stuff. I love everything they do. But that's one of the local ones. St. Augustine, we did an interview with them too. They make some pretty good stuff.
No, it's solid. We don't know until it gets put in a blind. And the funny thing about when you're tasting, you could have a Toshido pepper that day. I'm just saying, there's all these things can affect your palate. And we get samples sent to us all the time. It's nice since working with Fred, we've had less of an uphill battle of trying to get in contact with brands. We've had a lot more success, but at the end of the day, sometimes you meet great people and their whiskey is just okay. Or it's not, sometimes not good. Some people, there's over 3,000 distilleries in the country, and so, most people don't realize how many there are. But, go visit them. And, sometimes these places have killer food. And there's nothing better than when you get great whiskey and great people. You get both of those things. It's phenomenal.
100%. That's part of the reason why I fell in love with Tim and them and all that. Like, they make good stuff. They're great human beings. And a lot of the brands that we've tried on the show, I talk to the rep or founders or master distillers or something. And it's always great when the good brand has a great person behind it. Because I would hate to be like, I love your product, but you're a douche. I would
We've had a couple of those. Yeah, we've had a couple of those. But sometimes it's like, we really want their whiskey. Is this juice going to be worth the squeeze in terms of just dealing with the headache of it all? But we usually meet really great people, and it's more, the whiskey industry is really interesting because when we do a whiskey trip every year, and like we were in Texas this last year, a year before last, and we've just hitting up all Texas distilleries. Last time we actually started in Atlanta, moved up to DC. That we did that this last October. And the thing is, as you go on your trip, like throughout Texas, for instance, they're like, "Where have you been?" And we're like, "Oh, we stopped at Iron Root. We were over at Bent." And they're like, "Oh, we love those guys." And it's this weird element in the industry where you support your competitors, and it's fascinating because you don't see that a lot.
Oh, 100%. When I was talking to the guys from St. Augustine Distillery, they mentioned Angel's Envy and the port finish and all that. And not one bad thing to say. They're making fantastic product over there. They do great work, all this. And it's it's a healthy competition where there's plenty of space for all of you to exist, and just it's kind of damn near supportive of each other. He's like, yeah, if you haven't tried this, if you like our stuff, try this. This brand has a great version of this, or their own take on this, or like we had similar inspiration, so try their stuff. Oh, okay, I love this. Depends who you talk to. Obviously, there's always a douche in there.
Totally. Yeah, no, everybody's different and everybody's unique, and yeah, you'll meet a curmudgeon or two. We've met some, and but at the end of the day, we work through. If their whiskey's good enough, we're going to try to get them in the lineup.
All right. I mean, yes. I mean, I can't wait to get my box. Actually, now I've been thinking about it. So we talked a little bit already about, like, trying to get that shelf space for these smaller brands and kind of making a push to highlight them. What's been a brand that surprised you? What was one that in your like time trying this out and doing this for your customers that you're like, hold up, did I just ran into something that I fell in love with?
I mean, I think the best whiskey I've ever had was one that was in a lineup, and it's a whiskey that doesn't exist anymore. And so, well, it does and it doesn't. And I'll get to it. But have you heard of the World Whiskey Society? They're actually out in Atlanta, and they make the Doc Holliday bottle. Have you ever seen the Doc Holliday bottle with the bullet? Yeah. And so it seems a little gimmicky. It's not overly gimmicky. It's actually kind of cool. And there's, it says, I'm your Huckleberry on it. And these guys are sourcing whiskey. And in some cases they're blending. In some cases they're white labeling. In some cases they're finishing. They're kind of doing a little bit of everything. And they sent us a 6-year of the Doc Holliday. I'm like, this is good. But I'm like, what's the story about it? Did you guys make this? And they said, no, it's MGP. And I went, okay. So our rules, it's got to be American. It's got to be craft. You either have to be making your own distillate, you have to be blending, or you have to be finishing. You have to do something to the whiskey. You can't just white label it because there's no story there, even if it's good. I mean, I like MGP product. And so they said, well, can we send you the 10-year? And I went, yeah, okay. I'm going to say no to some whiskey. And I poured it. What the fuck is that? I couldn't, like, pardon my language, but I can't come up with another superlative that just, what? I'm like, is this 10-year MGP? And they said, no, it's these barrels that we found in Texas. And I went, okay. And basically there was this guy named Carlos Lavell, and he was part of the Lavell family. And for 5 generations, they made whiskey illegally. And they would bounce around throughout Georgia, and they'd go up to, Appalachians, and they'd evade the feds. And the thing is, when people start making whiskey, unless they apprentice or they come from a brewing background or even a wine background where they understand the wood influence that happens on the distillate, that they may never get good at making whiskey. And, like they may start out, but this guy was making whiskey since he was 7. Okay. And when he was in his 70s, his daughter convinced him to go legitimate. He started this Ivy Mountain distillery. And so if you see the Doc Holliday bottle, the 10-year, it's always really good juice. It's not this whiskey that they sent us. This was something that, so when I put it in a blind for my guys, they're like, Bobby, are you messing with us? Because I will. I'll put their favorite stuff in the line just to see if they'll give it a B- and mess with them. Like, oh, you hate the thing you love. What does that feel like? And they're like, is this William
testing their conviction?
Oh, yeah, exactly. I'm like, well, you're doing it blind. They said, is this William LaRue Weller? Like, did you put like a unicorn in this? And I went, no, this can be in the lineup. And I said, it kind of breaks all of our rules because they're white labeling. They just sourced it and they're putting a label on it. So the deal that I made with them, I said, look, this guy's legacy's in this bottle. Because what happened was 3 years in to the distillery, he died.
Oh, wow.
And he was mainly making this Georgia sour mash moonshine. And the distillate was so good that people bought it unaged. Like their White Dog was phenomenal. And then he was aging some of the barrels 6 months. And so all these barrels that he was aging 6 months sat there for 4 or 5 years. And the family eventually offloaded them. Bardstown bought a bunch of them, put it in their Fusion series. It ended up with a blend of the Jim Rutledge barrels from Castle and Key in an Art of Alchemy bottle. The rest ended up in Texas, and that Texas heat. So like another 5 years in Texas is like 9 years. So it sat there in Texas for another 4 or 5 years. Then they found the barrels, they brought it back to Georgia, aged it to another year. And then that's what we put into our sample. And this was the bottle that Doc Holliday, I think, went for about $200. I think our members got it for $125. And I said, look, I'm going to sell this out of existence. And I said, can you just hold 2 barrels back for us to get to 12 year, so that way we can maybe just for all the people that love this, we can bring it back.
Mhm.
And they said, yeah, so it just hit 12 year. We're just getting ready to do that. So our members are going to get that. I'm trying to see what I mean, this is honestly, I mean, if this, we tried it and it's already like, because we're taking the 2 barrels blended together are actually phenomenal, but there's not a lot of liquid left in each of the barrels. So we might have like another 200 bottles to sell really in total.
Oh, wow.
But it's off the charts. It's like, I want to drink this with my grandkids one day,
That
it's just phenomenal.
and I want to see the business budget will allow for it. Listen, but that sounds awesome and really hard that I could never try it. But the tenure that you had, so that's awesome to find a brand. That's
I got a little bit of it. I might be able to send you a little bit of it.
I appreciate that, but that's like unicorn in itself. Like you find something that you expect it to be kind of like, whatever, and it turns out to be the best whiskey you've tried. That is sad. That he passed shortly after he started the distillery. But
yeah, I mean, like I said, this says legacies in that bottle. So I like to tell the story of Carlos Lavell just so that his legacy stays alive. And when the distillate's gone, the story will fade too, right? So we're gonna, yeah, I mean, we're gonna have less bottles of that because I'm gonna hold a 6-pack back for myself, right?
Do that and for the grandkids and all that. Just one day,
exactly, 100%.
So I know that we talked a little bit about the shelf spacing, fighting for the little guy, and you've kind of already touched on those notes about how that could turn into something become someone's favorite bottle that they seek. And like, have you seen that success kind of start impacting those bottles and seeing them on the shelf more prominently?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. I mean, so sometimes we'll get a brand that's well distributed. And they're in the lineup because the whiskey's good. So there's been a few times where we had a really well distributed brand. And so now when we have that, I always say, you got to give me something really cool, something really special, something that nobody else has. Okay. So we've kind of pivoted from that mainly because we had 3-chord Strange Collaboration in the lineup. And that's, you can go get that for $55 at any liquor store. And we were selling it for 50, right? But I know 200 people went and bought that bottle because it's really good whiskey. And why not have to pay for shipping, right? And just go pick up the bottle or buy several of them or whatever. So I know several people told me that. So brands told me, I was like, did you see an uptick in any of these states? And they're like, we did. And I was like, okay, well, but I like to get credit for the kill. I want to drop the mouse on your chest when you wake up in the morning and let you know, take care of the house.
You did. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I did. That's what we did. But yeah, there's the brands that have been in our lineup. We still put our arms around them. So we're actually raising money right now to get into a restaurant model. So we're expanding. We're going to add. We're actually doing a rum kit, not a non-subscription, but a rum kit. We're going to be doing a tequila subscription. We're going to expand into that. And we're going to work on getting our kids in the hospitality space and hotel rooms. But we have a restaurant model that is not putting our kids at restaurants, but more orchestrating the experience. And so we've come up with a way to do that no one else can be able to do it the way that we're doing it. Understood. So we're just trying to, now we're going to really help these, restaurants. The issue is they're getting all the same people eating food, but people are doing consumer behavior change. They're doing DoorDash and Postmates and Uber Eats, and nothing wrong with that, like for their bottom line. But the problem is the servers aren't happy because they're not getting tipped.
That part. It's like there are a lot of people who depended on those actual consumers walking into the building.
Yeah, now you've got the turnaround is really high. So we're going to give them a tool. What's really been great for us is the FOMO. People don't want to miss out on the next lineup. Yeah. And now we can give that FOMO to the restaurants.
Sure. And my business mind just started working about like how that could work into something out. That'll be for another day. Because I'm like,
do that. Well, hey, you can invest. We're looking for partners.
That's true. All right. So as we round out the episode, I have a couple closing questions. One is, what is your dream box? If you could build a blind box with no limitations, extinct brands, rare vintages, what 4 samples are you putting in them?
Okay. So, if we're going to like put in one from the BTAC, I'm going to put in handy, so like, that's my rye. That's my go-to rye. I'm going to put in another rye. I'm going to put an old Carter rye in there too. So if we're going to, I know people will go the bourbon route. And because the thing is, I'm not going to pick craft because the problem is I can get any craft brand in the lineup, right?
Yeah.
So if we're just going like straight up, like a Willett purple top, gonna do it.
Okay.
It's just I love if you visit Willett, you got to get the egg sandwich, right? You got to get the egg salad sandwich, like that's a standard. But when I was there, they were pouring a 15, a 17, and a 16-year purple top. $25, and you got a pour of all three.
What? When did you go?
But they didn't let us do it again. I was just going to stay there and keep doing that, but it was like a Wednesday. Oh, dude, I'm just sitting there, and I just saw them over there in the three purple, and they could have very easily been, 7 or an 8-year purple top. No, they were all like really well aged, like phenomenal, just like off,
crazy. All right.
And then for the last one, I mean, I'd put that Doc Holliday in there because it's not going to exist anymore. So I can't put Doc Holliday in the lineup again because there's not enough of it. So if there was enough of it, the funny thing is that Doc Holliday bottle will beat all three of those bottles.
All four.
That's what's crazy. Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that. That's a very solid lineup. Well, I don't know the Doc Holliday one because I've had the Carter Oak. I've obviously had the Thomas H. Handy, some Willett purple tops, but not 3 in one time.
I mean, I got some whiskey clubs out here where everybody, I'm telling you, you come to those bottle shares, and I've showed up with the Yamazaki, 18-year, and nobody drinks it because everything else there is better than that. I'm like, okay, what did I do?
Man, the Orlando Whiskey Alliance. Now, when we went to our last event, I brought a couple bottles that I thought were heavy hitters, and I walked in. I was like, "I'm gonna put these back in my car. I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
I'm not getting embarrassed. I'm not getting embarrassed like this. Yeah. I'd rather tell you how to bring shit."
Pretty much. Yeah. No, I always show up, trying to blow minds for sure.
Yeah, or at least, hey, look, this might surprise you. It's like, hey guys, it's like bringing the food to the potluck that no one tries. It's like,
yeah, exactly.
But so one of my favorite questions, I don't know if you're a cocktail enthusiast at all. This is kind of off the cuff. What would be your deathbed cocktail?
So when we do an annual Christmas party, and my guy Sebass, he is just an unbelievable, he can make pre-prohibition cocktails. He can do all the stuff. He's not just putting smoke on things, and all fresh ingredients, everything. And he made a cocktail with, I don't know if you've ever heard of Whiskey Acres.
No.
So Whiskey Acres. So you heard of Frey Ranch, right?
Yeah.
So Frey Ranch, they're whiskey farmers. Like, they grow their own grain. It's very rare in the industry. Most people are sourcing their own grain, just because making distillate and growing grain are basically two completely different industries that obviously they need each other in terms of making whiskey. But Whiskey Acres is another one out of DeKalb, Illinois, in northern Illinois, and they are seed engineers, and they have a Bloody Butcher that I think is like top shelf, like awesome. And I got a case of it. So they were in our lineup with their Bottle and Bond bourbon, but their Bloody Butcher was in the lineup. We couldn't get it in the lineup, but I was able to get a case of it. And so for the party, my guy Sebass made Lion's Mane cocktail with the Bloody Butcher. And this was just maybe one of the most just delicious, drink all day outside, just perfect for a party. And I should look it up to know what all the ingredients are, but I know you can look at it. It was called the Lion's Mane, and the whiskey that he used was the Bloody Butcher from Whiskey Acres.
Okay. Lion's Mane. I've never heard of, well, it's been a while since I've had that cocktail. Are you talking about Lion's Tail or Lion's Mane?
Oh, maybe it's the, you know what? Maybe it's like the
Lion's Mane. Like, I had a Lion's Tail.
Oh my God.
I'm using the Google machine. Lion's Mane cocktail. This is great audio. Cocktail.
It's possible. Lion's Mane cocktail, sophisticated, frothy, fruit-forward bourbon sour featuring 1.5 ounces of bourbon, 0.75 ounces lime juice, 0.5 grenadine, 0.25 allspice rum, 1 egg white, dry shaken, then shaken with ice and served it.
Yeah, it's close. Yeah, it's close to the line.
It's creamy, it's fruity, and the thing is, like, the white, some of the stuff with like the egg white and all that, like you don't have to do all of it, but I mean, it was just so the way he made it, it was so perfect, and he put his own twist on it, and he put these really cool garnishes, and I added the bloody. So if I'm gonna ever have the like the orange rind, you gotta go bloody. You gotta go bloody orange, like every time. Like if I'm gonna put the rind around the rim and then drop it in the glass, I always get a blood orange.
Okay. All right. I like that. I appreciate all of it. I actually will now have to make a lion's mane because for my birthday, I made a lion's tail. So I have I have all of this stuff. Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Let me know what you think. But I mean, maybe, and it might have been that the way that Bloody Butcher interacted with all those things that just elevated it.
Yeah. It could be. Now we'll take a look and see what it turns out like. All right. So as we close out, man, what's next for Blind Barrels? Like I know we just talked about kind of, there might be some space for rum, tequila, and also getting into the restaurant space. Anything else, upcoming plans, and where can people find you? Just promote whatever you have coming up.
Yeah, I mean, we're doing all those expansions, obviously restaurant, hospitality, tequila, rum. We just hit 5,000 members, so we're going to open up that WhistlePig 25 year at the top. So that's going to be our celebration bottle that I got specifically for that. When we hit 1,000, I had an 18-year short barrel of the purple top.
Congrats.
It was one of those like $4,000 bottles, but I only paid like $400 for it. It was like the guy that like, I'm going to trade this matchstick and get a car. And then he like traded the matchstick for a pen, and he traded the pen for a thing. And then he slowly traded himself. So I did that with a bunch of bottles until I got that 18-year short barrel purple top. So we're looking forward to that. Yeah, you can find us on Instagram at blindbarrels.com. Just Blind Barrels on Instagram. And obviously, if you become a member, look, if there's customer service and you email customer service, you're going to get me. If you hit the chat bar on the site, you're going to get me. I handle all the customer service. I care that much, and I like to form relationships with all of our members. All of our members have my cell phone number, and they can text me anytime. And
5,000 people have your cell phone number right now, Bobby?
When you give 5,000 people your cell phone number, nobody uses it. That's what's kind of funny. People don't want to bug you. But yeah, well, there's like 3 people that are squeaky wheels for sure. But I'm cool with those guys. Those guys are actually really cool. And at the end of the day, we care about this company, and we've built a community. We're really proud of that community, and we'd love people to join our community. And yeah, the annual members, you get a 5th bonus box, and you get 4 tasting glasses. So hard to beat that.
Love it. Are there any Discords, any pages, anything where your friends, where the members can communicate and talk? Facebook pages?
We've thought about that. Yeah, we've thought about creating a Discord, or even just like, we have a Facebook group, but an interaction. So we do the lives, and it's funny because like every live gets bigger and bigger. We'd had 10 people on the live, and now we have like 200 people. And so you have your regulars that pop in, and we do giveaways. We gave away a sample of Pappy 23 at both of them. We gave away bottles. We gave away just some banger dusties. You get Christian a little inebriated by the end of it. He'll start giving away all sorts of crazy stuff.
How often are those lives, and where can they? Is it just IG Live, Facebook Live, where else?
We do a Zoom, so we send all the members a Zoom link, and we have it set up for 2 different lives that they can join. And if you're a member and you're not doing the live, you're doing it wrong, because it's a lot of fun. It's not just we're having a lot of fun during the whole time.
That is fantastic to hear, man. Well, I can't wait to hear more about what you guys do in the future, and I'm really looking forward to that box. Like barrel. If you send me a whole barrel, I'm gonna be very confused by it.
We'll get it out. We'll get it out to you. And I think we're gonna get you. What I might do, since we're moving on to March, I'll send you our December lineup, which is the best of the best lineup. So it's basically like when the government shutdown happened, we couldn't do the legal stuff that we needed to do because the Trade Tax Bureau was shut down. So what we did is we went to distilleries that had already been in the lineup, that we already gone through that legal process. And then we said, give us something. So there was distilleries that were in the lineup, we didn't have a lot of people. And so let's not put the same thing in the lineup, but let's put something more special and interesting and unique from that brand into the lineup. So we created the best of the best lineup.
I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm hell of excited. Trust me, I'm very excited about it. Honestly, by the way, I did open that Taconic, the little one.
Nice.
It's all gone. I should.
Oh, that rye is so good.
Yeah, actually, I picked the double barrel maple bourbon 9-year 115.
I think that's the Duchess. So yeah,
I just chugged the Duchess.
You did. It's phenomenal. I know they didn't have enough of it for us to put it in the lineup, but that was what I wanted in the lineup.
I didn't know. Whatever. That's made to be drank.
There you go. Yeah, thank the God that sent you that.
Yeah, definitely will. So shout out to James. I'm not going to say his last name. To James from Colorado. He hooked us up with the Taconic. But Bobby, gotta thank you guys. Make sure that you sign up or check out their subscriptions, blindbarrels.com. Make sure you give them like, subscribe, like and follow. And I definitely looking forward to seeing what this is all about and how often we can do this. And if you're getting exclusive purchasing power for bottles that people can't get anywhere else or at a better price, it seems like it pays for itself. Not a sponsor. This is not a sponsored thing right now. I'm just saying the logical thing that makes sense before someone's like, oh, Arthur's no, not a sponsor.
That's the idea. I'll tell you, the one we did with Still Austin, that we blended 2 barrels together, that just maybe it's one of the best whiskeys I've ever had too. Yeah, those bottles in the secondary tripled in value. We did a barrel pick with Mammoth up in Traverse City, Michigan. It was a 15-year rye matured in a Weller barrel. It was a $100 bottle that started going for $500-$600 about a year later. So you could sometimes buy a couple of things and then sell one of them and pay for your membership. You can do that too.
Hear it. Let's go. But if you guys have any questions, concerns, anything like that, reach out to us. If you want to find out more about Blind Barrels, obviously Bobby apparently cell phone is regularly handed out, so I'm sure you can reach out to him. But guys, don't forget, drink responsibly. Don't drink and drive. Do everything well, safe. Take care of yourselves out there. Share a pour with some friends. If you like what we're doing, leave a 5-star review. To all of Bobby's members who've listened all the way through, all 5,000 of you, make sure that you are liking, subscribing, and enjoying this episode. If you like what we're doing, you have someone else that you would like to see on the show, let us know. We can reach out. If you have any cocktails that you want to make sure get featured on the show, please give us a shout. We're always looking for fresh ideas and not just stuck doing the same old thing. I want something creative, guys. Thanks, guys. Take care of yourselves and be safe. See you guys.